Hi, everyone. This is Mark Strange, Chair of the Long Meadow Select Board. Welcome to the January 3rd, 2022 Long Meadow Select Board meeting. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm going to be confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Steve Morantz. Here. Josh Levine. Here. Mark Gold. Here. Tom Lacusa. Here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lynn Simmons.
Here.
Mike Barbieri. Here. This open meeting of the Long Meadow Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with the beginning of 2021. This meeting is convening by Zoom webinar as post-agenda and town's website identifying how the public may join. There is that chat or Q&A function. All of the materials for this meeting are available on the agenda posted on longmeadow.org. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. This meeting will feature president comment. Using the Zoom webinar format, members of the public are attendees. If a member of the public will speak during resident comment, please use the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. The meeting moderator will promote you to panelist, unmute you, and give you permission to speak. If you join the webinar by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute. Residents who wish to speak will identify their names and addresses only. Each individual will be afforded 3 minutes for comments. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please remember your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Okay, so we have a few announcements tonight. Christmas tree pickup began in town today, January 3rd, 2022, and will continue through January 14th, 2022, which is next Friday. Trees should be placed at the curb with no stands, ornaments, or lights attached. Also, on Sunday, January 16th, 2021, the town will be running a test of the town's emergency notification system starting at 5 p.m. The test will consist of 2 messages. The first message will be sent to all residents registered in the system. They will receive a message stating that this is Long Meadow Emergency Management with a test of the Long Meadow Emergency Notification System. If you receive this test, you are registered for the system. If you wish to modify your registration, please go to longmeadow.org and click on Emergency Notifications. We use this system to broadcast important information in the case of an emergency. Sincerely, Chief Dearborn, Long Meadow Emergency Management. The second test will follow a few minutes later. This message will state, this is Long Meadow Emergency Management. If this is the second message you are receiving tonight, you are registered for the Town of Long Meadow Emergency Notification System. If this is the first test you have received, we would ask you to go to longmeadow.org and click on Emergency Notifications to register for the town's Emergency Notification System. We use this system to broadcast important information in the case of an emergency. Sincerely, Chief Dearborn, Long Meadow Emergency Management. This test will take approximately an hour to conduct due to the number of contacts we will be pursuing. It's our hope that this will help us gain more contacts in our base system. The second test will reach contacts that are registered and not registered from a global database. After the test, we will do a database cleanup on numbers and addresses that were not deliverable. This will help speed up our message delivery going forward. Next on tonight's agenda are the board and committee interviews. Up first is Marie Angelini, if she's around.
And I'm moving Marie in now.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
I quite see you. Yeah, there you are. I saw you for a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Hi, Marie.
Oh, here, I got it unmuted. Hi, Marie Angelini, 199 Tango Drive.
Thank you. Marie, can you tell us just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in joining the COA?
I have not been on the COA before. I was on the select board. I was involved with the new adult center that was built and excited about the new programming that's going in. I saw there were some places and I decided to join and apply for this board.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions for Marie? Yes, Mark Gold.
I have two questions. The first one, Marie, is why?
Well, I haven't done anything since I got off the board. I think it's been almost 2 years now. And there's some exciting new things I think we could put through the center. It's a beautiful center. I think there's a lot of new excitement around it. And it's not as much commitment as the select board. So I thought I would put my toe back in. It's a large group that's been there a long time and just wanted to try to join in some way. And so that was my first thing.
The second question is more serious. You're well aware, Marie, the issues that we have between I'll call the three groups kind of vying for control of the adult center in progress, which is the Council on Aging Board, the FLOCA, and the new group that's the assisting group that was the fundraising group, and I know you were part of that. How do we split those and keep those cleaner than they otherwise be in terms of authority, responsibility, reducing conflict, and what role might the COA board play in doing that?
Well, I think that all three of those boards have been very active and important. And I'm not part of that private fundraising group. I sat in, I helped, I listened, but I was not part of the group. And I think there's enough room for all three groups to be of value down there. And I don't think it's as contentious as, that they're all vying for the same thing. I think they're all dealing with different parts of the pie. And of course, being a former select board member, I realized that even the COA is just an advisory group and bring some things to the select board as possible new goals. And I know they've built the new center. That's a huge goal that was accomplished, but there's still new things and new goals that we can set for the future for our seniors and the adult center. So I think it's actually an exciting time, and there's a lot of good feeling down because so much has been accomplished the past year or two, and I think it should be fun and exciting to get involved in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tom.
Hi, Marie. Thanks for volunteering to be on this committee, this voluntary board. So I guess one of the questions is, in the past, with the gift shop, there was some funds raised on a pretty regular basis. And now that there's no gift shop, do you see that funding has gone in a new direction for the adult center? And what's your opinion on it? I mean, I think it's kind of exciting, but I was wondering what you thought.
Well, I think I'm not joining FLOCA, it's COA, and FLOCA obviously has to make some changes because they were dependent on the gift shop. And I understood it's completely closed down now, but again, I haven't been down there to really see what's happening. And so I'm sure they have to have a new approach on how they're going to fundraise. But the COA is really, as I said, advisory on the new direction that the center is going, and that's what I'm hoping to contribute on.
Yeah,
I'm not that good at fundraising.
Okay. But do you think that fundraising is an important part of our center? That if we didn't do that, we would really have we'd come up short in terms of what our goals might be?
Well, of course, I know it from being on the select board. The budget has always been a big issue, and how much each department is going to get increased every year, and we're coming up to the ceiling. So I think that we have to look at fundraising as an important part to see the center grow. It's a beautiful new adult center. There's a lot of programming that can go in there and new directions and expanded services to our older citizens. And fundraising is always helpful. I think there's 2 arms down there that are doing it now. And the COA, I don't think it's never really been a fundraising group.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Marie.
Thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions for Marie? Okay, thanks, Marie. Good to see you, and we'll be voting in a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Okie doke. Mr. Barbieri, we have another candidate, right?
Yes, correct. I'm moving in Ron Johnston now. Mr. Johnston, if you could just unmute yourself whenever you get the chance.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry. It was on mute. I wasn't aware of that. I don't have any video though.
No problem, Ron.
Oh,
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in joining the COA?
Sure. I live at 39 Burns Meadow. I've lived in Long Meadow for about 65 years, graduated from the high school. With my wife, we raised 3 boys who also graduated from the high school. I was involved with the Long Meadow Baseball Association back in the days when my boys were playing. I was the president of the Babe Ruth League at that time. Currently, I'm a volunteer at the library on a weekly basis. And I use the new senior center quite frequently. And I'd like opportunity to be able to give back to the town through the senior center in advocating for seniors, particularly those that need help.
Very good, very good, very good. Do any select board members have questions for Ron? Yes, Marco.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Marie Angelini's, which is we've got 3 groups down there who are supporting the Council on Aging or the Senior Center, the Adult Center. It's the Council on Aging, which is a group you've applied to. We've also got FLOCA, and we've also got a new group that's been the fundraising arm for the new building. How do you see those groups entering, and what do you see the role as the COA in relation to those other 2 groups?
Well, I'm really not all that familiar with the 3 groups, so it would be hard for me to really make kind of a judgment, but I guess the best thing that could come out of that would be them all working together. It sounds like maybe they're not compatible groups. There's got to be found a middle ground, I would hope.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Tom.
Ron, thanks for volunteering for this position. And it's pretty clear. The goal of the Council of Aging Board is to help seniors in the town, and they have a pretty wide umbrella over what goes on down there. Is there any specific things that you wanted to see yourself getting, or seeing happen down there that maybe used to happen or are not happening currently?
Well, from a personal perspective, I think the physical activities that are available now in the senior center that weren't before. I use it every day for walking. And I see a lot of people in there walking, so it would appear it's getting more use that way. The meals being served there, I think, bring out a lot of people. The programs that they have certainly do. I guess one of the things that I would like to be a little more involved in is working with those who really do need an advocate. Maybe those that are homebound, that type of thing, who don't have the availability to actually get to the senior center. But being a new guy coming to it as a new person, I think I really need to get a little more acclimated with the thinking of the board itself.
Okay, Ron, thank you for your answers.
Thank you.
Any other board members have questions for Ron? Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnston, for stepping forward and volunteering. We will be voting on your appointment in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Okay, buzzing right along. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Stefan Platzer to the COA board. Looking for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we appoint Stefan Platzer to the 3-year term that expires June 30th, 2024, which is, at this point is like a 2.5-year term.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Finch,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Lucusa.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for Maxberger. Looking for a motion. Oh, we have to wait on this, right?
Yeah, we have to wait till 7:30. If you wanted to do a couple resident comments or however you'd like.
Yeah, let's do resident comments. If any residents have comments, can you move them in, please? One by one. Do any residents have comments?
I don't see anyone as of right now.
Any select board comments? Everybody's pooped after days. All right, can we get a town manager report in the next 10 minutes?
No problem. So good evening, Happy New Year. First up is a COVID-19 update. So as of December 30th, and I will actually give you this number and then I'll give you today's number. December 30th, there were 145 cases in town, which was representing 94% of them being breakthrough cases. As of today, we had 219 cases. As we all know, we're in a surge at the moment. We're seeing the numbers skyrocket. When I reported to you on December 20th, we had 62 cases. The good news is that the majority of the cases in the town are mild, and the symptoms seem to leave the system of the infected person very quickly. On the flip side, though, the virus is traveling at a much higher rate, and it's much more transmissible than what we've seen yet. The latest data pertaining to vaccination rates, we have about 35% without a booster in town and 75% with a booster. So we're advising that until the warmer weather comes in and it slows the virus down, to stay safe and protected as much as possible. In the DPW,
Excuse me, Lynn, can you just repeat? I think you said, did you say 35% and 75%?
We had 35% of, you know what, that doesn't add up. You're right.
That's why.
Yep.
Okay.
So it'd be 25%.
Straighten it out.
Yeah, 25% without a booster and 75% with a booster.
Thank you.
But that's of the vaccinated population. That's not everything.
Correct. Yeah, that's just those with boosters. There's a lot of swirling conversation right now about what's considered fully vaccinated now that boosters are available, and most people have over 18 have had a shot more than 6 months ago. That was the conversation today in our COVID team meeting. So there's differing information out there right now But as of right now, fully vaccinated is the 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna and the 1 of the J&J. But I do think that will change soon.
So while we've got you, we slowed you down. The breakthrough cases, is that considered fully vaccinated, or do you get that by booster? So is it broken down by percentage boosted versus 2 shots versus none? So it's just
It might be, but not in the data that I get twice a week. We have a COVID-19 case manager in town. Her name is Jennifer Siegel. She's the one that does all of our contact tracing. All residents who test positive will get a call from her. This is actually the first month since she's been with us that she has not been able to individually speak with each resident that's tested positive because our case number is just too much for one person. So Jennifer gets tons of data, the state Maven system, and she breaks it all down and provides bi-weekly reports or twice weekly reports to myself, the school superintendent, and some others on the COVID team. So we have a good snapshot of where we are in the town. So that data might be available, but it's not one that she provides me each week. But I could ask if that's something you're interested in. I could ask.
I'm interested in it, but I don't know if it encourages people to get boosted, then I think it'd be a good thing to put out there. And then do you get school numbers, or does that go to school committee, or are those not broken down?
So the 219 cases, that includes any resident in town. So they could be
broken down number for schools that we're aware
of. Yes, I don't have that breakdown with me tonight, but I do get that.
I just, in my kids' classes, I know there was a lot of kids out, and a lot of kids. I heard a big number of Blueberry. I'm hoping people are being cautious and maybe keeping kids who have the sniffles. That's good, but it's good for people to know what's going on out there, what's floating around town. So thank you, Lynn.
Yep.
Lynn, there is a mask mandate in town now. The Board of Health did do that.
Correct. Yes, there is.
All buildings in town?
Yes, all public buildings. The school, they did keep the schools separate. They're not wading into that, but all public buildings.
Okay. And was there any, in terms of your committee meeting, any revisitation of vaccine mandate for employees of town?
No.
Lynn, did I see today that there's a booster available now for kids 12 and over?
Yes. Yep, that was announced.
Thank you.
Okay. Regarding the DPW, we had 2 pretty notable retirements from the DPW at the end of this calendar year that represent a combined 85 years of service to the town of Longmeadow. Wayne Buck served as DPW yard foreman for the past 31 years. And prior to that, he held other positions within the DPW, including general foreman, sweeper, sander, and labor medium equipment operator. Wayne served the town of Longmeadow for 42 years. And Bruce Cavalli served as the town's water meter reader for the last 22 years. Prior to that, Bruce held other positions at the DPW, including equipment station operator, sweeper, and skilled laborer. Bruce served the town for 43 years. So we definitely thank them for their incredibly dedicated years of service and wish them well in their retirements.
Lynn, can we just give them an applause from the select board? I hope we will join me in thanking them for all that service.
And regarding the website refresh, in early 2020, the idea to refresh the town's website was discussed. We currently have a contract with Civic Plus that includes a free website refresh after 5 years of use. We contracted with Civic Plus in 2013, so we were eligible for that refresh in 2018. We initially started some work on that, but the pandemic slowed that down and really put it to the side. So we're re-engaging in this project, and we've taken some initial steps forward. The formal website refresh will kick off in mid to late February. The entire process is expected to take several months, with a new refreshed website going live sometime in the summer of 2022. A small working group of robust town users will work with Civic Plus to make the decisions on layout, color scheme, and content cleanup. Many of these changes will be guided by site analytics that we're currently reviewing, such as top website searches and most visited pages. One big change that we're hoping to make in tandem with this refresh site is to align the site, the URL address with other municipal URL addresses, which would be longmeadowma.gov. So we would lose the longmeadow.org, and we would migrate to a longmeadowma.gov. And later on in your agenda tonight, there is an authorization to pursue that URL address.
Thank
And
you.
that concludes my report tonight.
Yeah, Josh.
Will we still hold on to longmeadow.org so some ne'er-do-well can't take it from us?
Yeah, we'll maintain that, and all of our email addresses will need to be redirected to longmeadowma.gov. And for quite some time, if anybody goes to longmeadow.org, they'll be rerouted to longmeadowma.gov.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Lynn? Very good. Thank you, Lynn. Okay. Want to check and see if there's any resident that wants to make a quick comment?
I don't see anyone as of right now.
Nobody? Okay. We'll do the minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from December 20th, 2021.
So, oh, Earl second, yeah.
Steve moved it. Tom seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing Mike, can we call the roll, please?
Excuse me, Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Brantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Abstain.
Mr. Lacusa,
Yes.
Mark, I'll just point out my abstention wasn't because I wasn't there. Today's a tough day. I didn't get a chance to read them to know what they are. So
Hold it against you. So we got 2 more minutes until 7:30, which is when we'll open the public hearing for Maxberger. So if everybody can just bear with us for a couple of minutes, appreciate it.
while we're waiting, Mark, I was going to wait till our discussion about the website authorization with Lynn, but as long as we got 2 minutes, Lynn, one of the things that concerns me is I have what I believe to be a great email records system of everything. Will I lose that when we do a new email address? Will Google be able to transfer everything that's in our email? I know that you can redirect email sent to our old address, and people logging on to the website, that go to longmeadow.org can get redirected. But what happens with all the records I have, the files? And I don't know. I don't need an answer now. I'm just wondering if we can somehow work into that so it's not it's not lost. Somehow that can be retained in the longmeadowma.gov email address that I assume we're all going to get.
Correct. Yeah, I don't know specifics on it right now, but I will work with IT to get some answers on that, because I think you're like many of us now that our email is our history on a topic. So that'll be vitally important.
Thank you.
I would guess I had you somewhere with my office, and it just changed the domain, and everything else stayed on there. So it hopefully it wouldn't change anything, right? We got a good IT department. I'm sure they can figure something out, but it was pretty seamless when I had to do it.
We've hit 7:30. Any more questions for Lynn on that? Okay, we've hit 7:30, looking for a motion to enter into our public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Lecusa.
yes.
Thank you. So by way of quick background for those in attendance and watching at home, Maxberger Long Meadow LLC, DBA Maxberger, has applied to the Long Meadow Select Board to amend the liquor license under Section 12 for a change of officers, stock, or ownership interest at 684 Bliss Road in Long Meadow. Is somebody here from Maxberger to make a presentation?
Yeah, I'm here, Nick Amante from Fitzgerald Attorneys at Law.
Go ahead, Nick. Good to see you.
Okay, good to see you all. All right. Well, good evening. Thanks for your time tonight. Like I said, my name is Nick Amante. I'm an attorney with Fitzgerald Attorney Law with offices in East Long Meadow. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Maxberger. They're requesting approval for an amendment to their current alcoholic beverage license to reflect a change in ownership to Max Hospitality LLC. So with me tonight is Scott Smith. He is the vice president of the Max Restaurant Group. He's a partner at Maxberger, and he will be the manager of the LLC, which is going to be the new owner, Max Hospitality LLC. So really, there's going to be no operational changes to Maxberger. The licensed premises, the operations, the manager of record, the manager on the alcoholic beverage license, it's all going to be the same. Everything's going to be ran exactly the same. This change is to reflect a larger merger. Max Hospitality formed by the current owners of all of the restaurants in the Max family. And it was formed to specifically own all of the restaurants in the Max's family. So every Max's restaurant is now going to be owned by this new Max Hospitality LLC by all of the owners of the Max's. Two owners will no longer be remaining with the company after the merger. And that's really just the gist of it. So we've submitted a complete application in compliance with all the laws. Scott Smith and myself are here to answer any questions you may have. If you find everything to be in order, we would just request approval of the application for amendment as presented for it.
So essentially, all of the Maxberger restaurants, Max Tavern, etc. There were individual LLCs or entities prior to this, and all those restaurants / entities are merging into one Max Hospitality LLC.
Pretty close. It's just the owners they're all individually owned, and now the owners are forming an operating company to own all of the individual restaurants.
Gotcha. Do any board members have questions? Yes, Mark.
I just want to, Nick, thanks so much. I just want to have you confirm, as far as the one that we're concerned about, Maxberger and Long Meadow, there's going to be no operating change, same manager, same liquor license, all that stuff remains the same?
Yeah, so as far as the alcoholic beverages licenses, there's no change to the manager of record. There's no change to the staff, as far as I know, outside of normal change, normal staffing. It's just the owner is going to be the current owners in a different form. Much.
Well said. Thanks. That's what I want to confirm. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the town has had a great relationship with Max's. What I hear from residents is they're very satisfied with the product that you deliver. People like eating there, and the board has never had to deal with any underage drinking issues. which always makes it a lot for us. Now, how many Max restaurants are there? I mean, total now?
We have a total of, this is Scott Smith, and we have a total of 10 restaurants and also a catering company.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't have anything to do with the decision. Thank you, Scott.
Right.
Yeah, Josh.
I have no qualms with the application, what's behind it, but what we were sent, our packet, it was missing the page, and it appears to be missing some other things. I do a lot of liquor licensing, so I had questions on that. So I didn't have a narrative. There's $1.5 million cash contribution here, including a couple loans. What are they for? And really, what's going on here? I guess is really my bigger question, because I don't have that narrative on page 1.
Okay, do you want me to, I can respond, Scott. So like I said, the current owners are forming one big company, and two of those owners are leaving, and that cash is to buy out 2 of the owner shares. Okay.
And so I just finished a application. It took 3 months to get through the ABCC investigator. A lot of ticky-tack stuff, and I don't want us to get stuck here. I don't want to get kicked back to you or to the town. I know on section 7, the licensees, as the lender licensee, has not been checked off on page 4 of the application. And I haven't seen all the queries. I assume they're on there, and they probably wouldn't be put on the public record, as well as the bank accounts. But I got an application, took a little bit getting through. If there's any missed check boxes, the ABCC has been very stringent. So if there's anything like that, it just get corrected before we ship it off.
We will, and we're gonna have a telephone call to the chair of the ABCC to make sure we're all set with this too.
Hey, Josh, just also for some clarity, the hard copy received was about.
Oh, you got muted, Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. So what I was saying was the hard copy that I received was a couple hundred pages, and it's very possible that there were some items that were not scanned properly into the packet that you received. For instance, the Corey information and stuff like that, which is all checked in my office right now. So if you would like to also review the full version, it's available to all select board members in the office as well.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Any other questions from select board members? Do we have any members of the public who would like to ask a question or make a comment?
I do not see anybody.
Okay, looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Mike, can you call the roll, please? Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Lacusa.
Yes.
Thank you. So this seems pretty, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of ownership of Maxberger to this Max Hospitality. It doesn't really affect the town of Long Meadow.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Isn't the motion for the liquor license as opposed to the ownership?
Approve the liquor license ownership. Ownership is shown on the liquor license.
Any further discussion? Okay, Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yep.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Lacusa.
Yes.
Thank you, Attorney Amante. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
counselors.
for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up is our Eversource Gas update. After the November 15th public forum with Eversource, during some questions that we had asked of Eversource were left unanswered. We followed back up with, followed back up on a few of the questions that were left unanswered. I'll go through briefly and can try to summarize the question and the answers or non-answers as they are, and then open it up for comments from the board. So the first question we had was the rate of return on new gas infrastructure is said to be around 10%. We were wondering what the 10% applies to. Is it the total cost of the capital investment? If not, then what? Also, is it 10% annually or at one time? So the response from Eversource stated that the current return on equity was established as a part of the Mass DPU docket 2059, which was issued on October 7th, 2020. And they included applicable language in their answer, which says the limit establishes a return on equity of 9.7% as of January 1st, 2021, which was originally proposed in the DPU 18-45 rate settlement. The settlement also established that EGMA would have a capital structure, with Eversource Gas of Mass would have a capital structure of 53.25% common equity and 46.75% long-term debt. So on and so forth. They go on to say it's important to note that shareholders will not be allowed to return from this project unless it is deemed prudent, and costs associated with the project undergo the DPU standard scrutiny as part of a future rate case proceeding. Shareholders incur the risk of construction. To build this project, Eversource will incur capital construction costs, and once the project is complete, will incur expenses such as maintenance, depreciation, property tax, and debt costs. Once constructed, EGMA will have an opportunity to earn a return on this capital investment by including it for DPU review in a rate case. For a capital investment to be included in a rate base during a rate case, the DPU must determine that the costs were prudently incurred, and the resulting facilities are in place and used and useful to consumers. A rate case is a year-long litigated proceeding in which the Attorney General participates as the consumer advocate and comments on the prudence of the company's capital investments and allowed return. EGMA will not be able to recover any of its project costs until the conclusion of a rate case and with an approval from the DPU. Comments on that question and answer? Does anybody understand what it says?
Well, I think so. I guess it looks like they're going to be able to depreciate and pay less tax to the state and to the towns or whatever, to the state mostly, because based on this project. So they're reducing their tax costs while they're increasing their carbon footprint.
So the big question is, are we satisfied with this answer, or should we go back and try to get a more kind of finite, detailed, focused answer to our question? Go ahead, Josh.
I don't understand the answer, but I'm just a lowly English major who went to law school. It seems like they didn't answer our question completely. And hired their lawyers to put a bunch of gobbledygook on there. I'm curious what the 10%, what that means. I see what they say, return of equity, but the annually one time, I don't, it seems to me they didn't answer the question. But maybe somebody who does understand this can tell me they did.
Who understands it? Steve?
They didn't answer the question. They're not going to answer any of the questions, but be that as it may, I mean, basically Massachusetts, the rates are not set by the companies. They are set by the DPU. The DPU does set the rates. And the Attorney General's job is to make sure that we, the ratepayers, aren't being gouged. The whole gobbledygook, I mean, Tom is right. I mean, they're going to depreciate whatever cost. The fact that they're going to incur this cost, there's no great strain to them because they're going to depreciate it. And, that's good for them. What they do need, and I think, that this is what the town is going to hang its hat on for going forward to talk to these guys, is they need to prove that there's a need for this thing. I mean, why are they? Because we're all going to pay for this gas that goes into these pipes. And so, they have to prove a need for it. And I'm not sure they have yet to do that.
So are they depreciating the cost and also turning
Not
around?
the cost, but once it's in, they'll say it costs $40 million to do all this stuff, and then they can start depreciating it on probably some sort of accelerated depreciation schedule, so they can.
Are they also passing on the cost to us as the users?
The ratepayers are going to pay for some of this stuff. There's no doubt about it.
Of course. Mark,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
for-profit business, but very straightforward. A rate of return is if you take the cost of this project, which is multi-millions of dollars, and you invested it at some place, whether it's the bank or the stock market or whatever, what rate of return would you have to be earning on that money to be equivalent to what this money is doing through investing in this project? So basically, they're saying by investing this money, they're saving the equivalent of money and other things equivalent to taking that money and investing it at 10%. That's what the state allows them to do. The DPUC allows them to invest at 10%. They can't invest in projects that earn more. If they do, they've got to discount the costs. So, the comments about depreciation is just part of the cost accounting, the way I read. I mean, I worked back at Monsanto, you didn't start a project till you did the economics and it met our internal required rate of return. And their level of rate of return is 10%. And theirs isn't set by the stock market or whatever, it's set by the state. For me, it just, you manipulate the cost of the project and the savings you're going to get from it. I don't know how they're demonstrating savings from a project that's not an earnings project, but they're doing it. And basically they're going to charge back customers enough money so that they get essentially 10% on the money they're investing on it. So since they're not making by saving money, they're going to literally take their customers, I believe, and invest and charge us additional funds.
Right. But think about how this 10%, if they make 10% on this project, it makes absolutely no sense because this project's going to have new pipelines. But what they told us is no new gas is going to be sold to anybody. It's basically going to go around in this loop from Long Meadow through the Bliss Street Station and back. And now instead of 100% going to Bliss Street Station, 50% will come from Long Meadow and 50% will come from the other side of the river. But it's no increase in gas usage to anybody. So they're going to spend $40 million and they're not going to increase the gas use to anybody. So where they're getting their 10% on this money is pretty, it sounds, if I could, it's pretty good, Tennessee Gas is going to help out Eversource.
So Steve, the question we didn't ask them.
We're not selling a nickel more gas. That's what they told us. Now, one more, it's all going to be the same amount of gas is going to go on Bliss Street and it's just coming from two different directions.
So Steve, the question we didn't ask them is, where does this 10% return come from? That was not asked. It was just, what does the 10% apply to? Because your question is correct. If you're not going to sell more gas out of it, how are you making 10% on this investment? And they're, without having said it, it sounds like they're making it through depreciation and they're making it through charges to the customers. That's why they gave us the stuff about depreciation. Because
I think Mark should do a follow-up and say, I'd like to refine this question and ask you, how are you making 10% on this project
Right.
when there's no gas, when you tell us no new gas is being sold?
But remember, if they invest $100, or in this case, $40 million, and they can write off that on their federal and state taxes, for them, because of the tax nature of their business, for them, that's a savings. You know, they're getting a return on that investment, being able to write off, reduce their taxes. At least that's what you do in for-profit companies.
And we're all getting a liability surcharge on top of that too.
Well, whatever it is, Josh, but you know, I mean, we can ask them, and I have no problem doing it. But I'm pretty sure the answer we're going to get is the depreciation gives us because it's a tax savings.
It seems to me like the 9.7 is embedded in the statute, and you know they just have to show I guess you know depreciating the cost of the project works in favor of the tax or the ratepayers, so that once they have to really simplify what kind of a lump sum total cost, either on an annual basis or total, then they can find a DPU to increase the rate that would allow them to recoup whatever losses they got on the books plus that 10% profit.
So do we think it's the same standard they have to show that this is necessary to construct it? And so does that make it a sure thing that DPU after the case will then say, yes, you need this, and so they're going to get their depreciation? The siting board may have a different
Josh,
standard.
that's the wrong question. The question is, if they invest it, they get the depreciation. It has nothing to do with the DPU. It's federal tax law. They get if you invest capital, you get a capital depreciation. It's that simple. So it's just a matter of if you're approved to make this investment, they figured it out that the investment, the rate at which they depreciate it will give them this return on investment. You know, sometimes you depreciate capital over 30 years, and sometimes you depreciate it over 10 years, and sometimes you depreciate it in between. And they're able to set their depreciation rate so that every year they get to write off enough on their taxes to essentially give them the equivalent of a 10% rate of return on their investment. You know, it's probably, you know, if it's $40 million, it's probably, you know, whatever the principal is plus the interest that they need to make. That's how you know, they get to adjust their depreciation rate. That's what this said to me. And, you know, which is very different from other accounting systems.
Right. Well, but they're saying they're saying their answer, they'll have the opportunity to earn a return on the capital investment. So they get the depreciation no matter what.
But that's the return. And I may be wrong. I mean, I'm not an accountant for Eversource. I don't want to be. All I'm saying is that in for-profit industry, you know, a depreciation contributes a whole lot toward your return on a capital investment. That's all. Because you write, it's a tax. If they don't do this, they're going to pay $1 million or $1 billion or whatever it is in taxes. If they do this, they're going to pay, if they have a 10-year depreciation, they're going to pay $4 million less a year in taxes. If they have a 20-year depreciation, they're going to pay $2 million a year less in taxes. If they depreciate in 1 year, they're going to pay $40 million less that year in taxes. That's the savings. It's through the depreciate, you know, because that's all they got. It's a non-earnings project. You know, we used to do some non-earnings, you know, non-earnings projects as well for environmental reasons and things like that. And the only return was based on depreciation.
Yes, but that's not what they say in their answer. They say when they go to DPU, it's going to be based on not only depreciation, but apparently they don't say it, but they have to sell. They have to sell the gas to make any kind of this thing. Because I can't believe. Well, I can't believe anything at this stage again. But the DPW is going to say, sure, go ahead, let's build this pipeline. That for the only reason we really need it is in case the Memorial Bridge gets blown. No new gas is going to be sold to anybody, and you're going to get your rate of return because of depreciation. And the ratepayers, you and me and everyone else in the state, is going to pay for that. That, to me, makes absolutely no sense, and hopefully make no sense to the siting board and the DPU when they come to it. But that's the way that all reads. They're gonna make their money by selling any more gas, and that's their job, that's their business.
Well, and Steve, that's a legitimate question. I'm just, you asked, how do I read this? And I read it through, they're gonna make their return on, because you're right, they're not selling, they have said they're not gonna sell any more gas. So there's no additional earnings from the sale of gas. They can only make their money one other way, and that's through tax write-offs. That's it. If you want to ask more, I was just answering the question.
I really just think it doesn't matter whether they're selling the gas or not. They can ask for, a rate of return from the DPW 9.7% on the cost on the capital investment. Right? I mean, it's a kind of it seems like an incentive to build pipes, and costly ones, because you get a markup basically on the cost. Once constructed, EGMA will have an opportunity to earn a return on the capital investment by including it for DPW review in a rate case. DPW has to determine that the costs were prudent, really incurred, the resulting facilities are in place and used and useful to customers. Right?
Can't really prove it's useful unless there's a disaster to the main line.
Right. That was my thought. So I'm happy to follow up on this. I did the way that I asked the question was pretty open. We're wondering what the 10% applies to. Is it the total cost of the capital investment? If not, then what? Also, is it 10% annually or one time? Happy to ask, follow up with a different way of asking that. If people want to kind of think about shoot me something. Okay. Any more on this one? Okay. Question 2. There's 5 questions. The proposed pipeline would provide reliability / backup for 15% of Long Meadow customers. Are the other 85% of Long Meadow customers already protected with a reliability backup? If so, where would the gas supply come from if the current line was disabled? Also, what might cause that current line, presumably the one originating from Tennessee Gas Compressor Station, to become disabled? Short answer was the 85% of Long Meadow customers are not served directly by the Western Mass Natural Gas Reliability Project, have resiliency built in via a combination of 5 individual mains local to the town. The 5 mains are fed through 2 separate gate stations. Additionally, there are 2 backup supply sources for the segment of our distribution network through a liquefied natural gas plant and an emergency interconnect. As with any natural gas infrastructure, some of the contingencies we prepare for include system failures, natural disasters, and third-party accidents. I think there's another level we can drill down to on this answer. I'm wondering if you all had any response, reaction to that.
I'd like to know what the 2 gate stations are. I assume one of them is East Long Meadow, but I don't know what other gate station they're talking about.
So, my question is, why don't, everybody's on the same line, Long Meadow, so if we can get gas to, kind of central Long Meadow, why can't we get it to kind of the northern part of Long Meadow, which is at risk if something goes wrong with the line across the Memorial Bridge, the South End Bridge? And what are the 5 mains? Right, I don't see where the disconnect is, considering it's a contiguous line that goes through town. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I presume the answer to that could undercut their entire project if they. We're not going to get a straight answer on that. I would imagine. That was my first thought as well. But the answer could be because we'll make more money doing it the other way. But it does seem bizarre.
Yeah, I'm inclined to follow up on that and try to get a more definite answer, like what are the 5 individual mains, what are the 2 separate gate stations, and why can't they backfeed the 15% that's served by? So, anybody else have any comments on that one? Number 3, the dam at Long Meadow Country Club is listed as a significant hazard dam by the Mass Office of Dam Safety. Is there any consideration of this high-risk dam and the route selection? What mitigations are being planned to deal with this dam? So basically, we're going through this process right now in Agawam. Basically, what happens is they file with MEPA, and part of that MEPA review process is they bring in the Office of Dam Safety. The Office of Dam Safety takes a look at it and does their analysis and evaluation, and then coordinates with the applicant and the town that are, the dam is being safely looked after, either during the project and or afterwards. I don't know if anybody else had a follow-up on that. I don't know, that was Chief Dearborn's question. I don't know, Len, did you talk to the chief about this and get his feedback?
Yeah, and he's had some more direct conversations with Eversource.
Okay, good.
You know what they've said, because it does say, this answer does say, we're gonna be in contact with, town officials, so if they've been in contact with, I think, this is just taking a look at things. Anything specific?
No, we actually held a meeting with them a couple weeks ago. Myself, the building inspector, the fire chief, the assistant town manager, and 3 representatives from Eversource to really drill down in much greater detail on the project and the impact in certain areas of town. We had quite a few questions for them on items that were not addressed, including stormwater mitigation. There's a proposal potentially for cutting of a public shade tree along the metering station, and we're awaiting more information from them based on that feedback.
Anything else on the dam? Okay. Number 4, this was the one that really seemed to be evasive to me. Wondering what you guys think. So number 4 asks, we're very concerned about the proximity of the proposed metering station to both abutting residences and the Wolf Swamp Road Elementary School. During the meeting, Mark, the gentleman, Mark from Eversource, stated that other metering stations are being located near schools and residents throughout the Commonwealth, including one in Cambridge. If possible, can you please provide a list of existing metering or gate stations that Eversource uses that are located in residential areas or zones and or within a half a mile of the school? Also, how long has the Cambridge facility that Mark from Eversource cited been in use? And then the answer was basically, seemed like boilerplate disclaimers about safety and reliability, without any mention of specific stations, metering stations or gate stations, residential areas in your schools. So I don't know if people read that and had any response.
Yeah, Mark, yes, they didn't answer at all. They did not mention one school within a half mile or less of any of these meter stations. What was really, the best I can say is, what was the most misleading about their statement was this thing about Cambridge. This is the thing about Cambridge. They went, the request Cambridge, and this is on the Cambridge website, so I'm not making this stuff up, is there is part of a facility, and they want a gas structure, number of fuel tanks, they want the gas regular station to be moved so it can be more screened in and away from a public area, and they're moving it to a property that is exclusively used by other utility facility. So they're moving it out away. It doesn't say anything about where it's located. It doesn't say anything about how long it's been in service. So when he said, there's one in Cambridge that got approved, it got approved by the zoning board because they said this is a much better thing for everyone concerned because it moves it from a more public to a less public space. and it's moved to an area that's specifically set aside for this. So, but that's all. That's the Cambridge thing, and so it's certainly apples and oranges in terms of what we're talking about at Low Meadow Country Club and what they're doing in Cambridge. So it was not only a non-answer. The answer the guy gave us at the hearing was really, as I said, at best misleading.
Yeah. You know, that's why you got to ask questions and drill down, because, you know, the answers, you know, are lightning even when they don't provide answers. You know, I think there's a couple things that's, you know, a couple questions, a couple areas that it's hard for them to answer in a way that doesn't hurt their case. I think this is one of them. Anybody else have any reaction to that?
The answer was clearly non-responsive, Mark. I mean, you just go back and say, you still didn't provide us the information.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, last follow-up question was, Columbia Gas publicly described this project as being located in a non-residential area. Does Eversource stand by that statement? And I thought that I had provided electronic copies of the flyers, the exact Columbia Gas flyers that describe the project as non-residential. But Eversource's response was, Eversource is unaware of the details surrounding the reference statement by Columbia Gas. However, we are aware of the location of the proposed point of delivery site is located in the residential zone as described by the Long Meadow zoning bylaws. End of answer. So they didn't further perpetuate the lie.
If we could ask you, so
We disavow any knowledge of Columbia's statement.
But they're a little incorrect. We didn't make that a residential area at that town meeting. That thing has always been a residential area. When I say, as defined, you know, what we did at that town meeting was saying,
Yeah.
you can't build an industrial gas facility there, but it's always been a residential area. It's not like we just said, hey, we're gonna make this a residential area. We got you. Yeah.
I think that's inconsequential, but I see what you're saying.
I guess even if we asked them, do you agree it's in a residential zone? The answer would just be, yeah, it's in residence zone A1. So
yeah,
it's good. Yeah, it's good as we're gonna get.
Yeah. So, so going back quickly, so I'm going to follow back up on number 4, asking for an answer to the question, and try to be a little bit more precise with how I ask the question. I think the answers to 3 and 5, you know, we're okay with. I want to follow back up with the answer to 2, based upon their description of the resiliency built into the, you know, the majority of the town through the 5 individual mains and the 2 gate stations. I'd like some more information and more specifics on that. And then question 1, I'm loath to follow up on because I think we're just going to get more confusion. I don't know if anybody else had a different thought about that. Okay, if you have a change of heart, just let me know. I probably won't get back to Eversource till next week or so. Okay.
Mark?
Yes, Tom.
You know, in our executive board meeting, you know, several weeks ago, we talked about disclosing where we were at in terms of our spending for legal costs on this. And is that something that we're going to disclose tonight, or are we going to do that at a future meeting, or?
It was executive session, so I don't know if we can talk about it, right?
Well, we talked about letting people in the town know, you know, what we've spent money on so far, because the last meeting we approved additional spending. I mean, I thought we talked about disclosing that.
I don't have any problems with that. I just don't know if that was part of the resolution. I mean, if I don't know. Then do you want to talk to Kanoff about that? And I had no problems, you know, letting the public know what we spent to date. Certainly public record.
Again, my point for bringing it up at that meeting and bringing it up today is that we want people to know that the town is spending money on this issue. And I think we should keep them abreast of the costs related to it. And when we talked to Canoff about that, he didn't seem to have any objection to letting the town members know the costs that we've incurred, because, he went over the details of what we've spent money on, but the costs, he didn't see a problem because the town, at town meetings votes to increase money to our legal fund, and so they should know what the money's being spent on, I think.
Right, but then the logical follow-up to that is any legal money we spent on any legal issue in this town, we should tell the town what we just spent. Example, the whole thing with DPW. The town ought to know how much money legally we're spending on that. Isn't that correct?
Right, and some of that comes across perhaps in the budget. I don't know, Lynn, does that?
Sure, so
during the audit?
how much we're spending and who we're paying, that's a public record. The legal bills that are sent to accounting for processing are redacted for the content of the bills, because some of them are fairly descriptive. So certainly the firm that we're paying and how much we're paying, and we could potentially break it down by matter, but we can't drill down any further than that. So that is a public record.
Okay, and so if people needed to know that, they could best find that by looking where?
Well, we need to request that information from us. We don't have an open checkbook type tool on our town website. We just need to ask for it. If it's something you want, I can have it for your next meeting, and I can break it out by attorney or legal matter.
Yeah, I think it would be good to give the town an update on just how that money's being spent, because we go to them for, we have our standard set of money, and then we've been asking for increases, and I think it would be helpful. I think it would be helpful for town members to know.
Just to be clear, we won't be able to show what it's being spent on. We'll be able to show what projects it's being spent on.
Correct.
Right, there's a big difference there, which is fine. I mean, it's that public should be able to put information out, and I have no problems with that. Sometimes when you create an agenda item specifically for this, and people aren't really paying attention to what's going on, it can trigger a little bit of noise unnecessarily. Having said that, if we want to make it an agenda item for the next meeting, and then you can just break out, how much we've spent so far in the DPW and the pipeline, and what we have left in the budget.
Yep, happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
So related to what Tom just brought up, at the December 20th meeting, the Long Meadow Select Board voted to file intervener petitions in the following matters at the EFSB. The first one is the Eversource Gas and Supply Plan. Notice and order notice DPU 21-118. In this case, Eversource asserts that the Long Meadow project and other projects are required for reliability. The second matter that we voted to intervene in is the safety assessment, notice of filing, request for comments, and revised order of notice, DPU 21-109. In this case, Eversource makes the case for additional safety upgrades based upon its assessment of infrastructure, including the Western Mass Liability Project. The logic there, by and large, for intervening in those two dockets is to stay apprised of the information that Eversource is providing to the DPU and other matters as they relate to the Long Meadow expansion project and the statements made to the town of Long Meadow about the reason for that expansion. Does any board members have any additional comments on that? Very good, very good. Okay, anything else pipeline related Moving right along to the annual town election. Town clerk Kathy Ingram is recommending that we set the date for the annual town election as Tuesday, June 14th, 22, with a preliminary election date, if needed, to be held on Tuesday, April 26th, 2022. Nomination papers would be available starting tomorrow, assuming the select board approve election date today. Nomination papers would be available until March 4th, and they were due back with the required number of signatures on March 8th. And those are the highlights. There's other details in the document provided. Board members, what say you?
Can you refresh my memory to why we would act, what would trigger a special election?
I think if it's more than double, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
The primary more than double.
Yeah. So if there's 5 candidates for two spots. The real question is Mark Gold running again?
That is the question, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I like it.
I'll wait for my copy of the reminder to show up.
So does anybody have any objections to the town election being June 14th?
I'll move we set the date for June 4th of the annual town meeting for annual town election to June 14th, preliminary election date if needed to be Tuesday, April 26th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Lacusa,
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, where are we here? The annual town meeting warrant schedule.
all right.
If I could, and when Mike, I think Mike wants to present some of it, but I do have one date that I need to point out in there.
Okay.
That's brought to my attention today.
Lynn, do you want to go first?
No, that's okay. You can walk us through the timeline here.
Okay. All right, so let me just pull it up. All right, so the only change to this schedule in comparison to the last several are that a new section of the bylaws just passed at the 21 annual town meeting for citizen petition articles to be due at the last Monday in January. Everything else is based off of a rolling schedule based on budget meetings and special meetings that we're going to have with the Finance Committee and the Capital Planning Committee in regard to the budget. And everything is pretty much set around that deadline of getting the warrant printed and getting it to the printer and being able to make edits in a timely fashion. And pretty much the way these dates line up at this point, unless Lynn has a suggestion to change one, which he may. As of right now, this is the draft warrant schedule that we have.
So the only thing I need to point out is between the draft warrant schedule and the budget calendar that you approved in November, there's a different date in there for the select board to vote on the FY23 budget. And the reason that's important is because it has an impact on when the Finance Committee will take this up. Also, just two different dates between both documents for when the warrant needs to get to the printer. It's not a huge discrepancy, but it's just 3 days. So I wanted to just point that out because the budget calendar you adopted has a vote on the FY23 budget and signing the warrant at the meeting of March 14th, which would actually need to be a special meeting because you don't have a meeting that night. That's off your normal calendar. The warrant has your vote on the budget and the signing of the warrant on March 21st, which would be a normal meeting night for you.
Is March 21st sufficient time, Lynn?
It would give less than 2 weeks for the finance committee to take this up. Looking back at prior years, it does look like they get about 2 weeks. So I guess that's, you know, if they know this calendar in advance, they could set up a meeting. And generally, you know, we're pretty good as you all are at keeping them abreast of what's happening with the budget as we're continuing discussions. So it's not like it's the first time they're seeing it that first night in March. But it does compress their timeline.
Yeah. My personal preference would keep it to first, but.
Lynn, do they have regular meetings or would they schedule a special meeting?
They do have a regular meeting schedule. Yep. So if you do choose to stay with the March 21st date, I don't know if that means we should bring you an amended budget calendar. I don't know if that's critical or not. We could do that at the next meeting to adjust those dates looking down and get you a new calendar at the next meeting.
They need to be consistent one way or the other. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it seems like they can schedule a meeting, you know, subject obviously to their availability.
I mean, we give them one less week or us one less week is the date, right?
Yeah, I must have missed that one. I was assuming it was at the regular meeting. I must have missed that there was a special meeting that day.
Or maybe they can even, you know, schedule it for the day after.
Exactly. Yep.
You know.
Okay. Well, then there's no issue with the warrant schedule then, and we'll bring you back an amended budget schedule for your next meeting.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments on the warrant schedule?
Well, I had one comment. I know that, you know, we've been working as a board on all of the bylaw amendments that were put together by the bylaw. And the only ones left, you know, we've sort of worked on them over several years now. And the only ones left were by the school department. And so I don't know, I've mentioned it before. I'm just wondering if they're going to put something on the warrant, they may have to vote on those items that were recommended by the bylaw committee. And I guess, Mark, it's in your lap. It was in my lap, and because of COVID, it didn't get to happen. In prior laps, like Mark Goals and Marie Angelinis, it didn't get to happen. But you know, I don't want this to just end up being, I guess, you know, the chairs just kind of let that go, because I think it is important that we have them vote on it. They don't have to approve it; they just have to vote on it.
So as part of the package that town meeting voted on at the annual meeting, I did talk to Superintendent O'Shea and Kevin Shea about this very issue. Basically told them, you know, it's the ball's in their court, whatever they want to do with it. This is what the Charter Review Commission had suggested for changes. They actually talked about it at one of their meetings. I want to say they voted. I don't know if they voted or not, but I think they voted. And they preferred to keep it as is and not accept the change.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for letting me know.
And just to clarify, those were charter changes, not bylaws.
Not bylaws. All right, thank you. The Charter Commission, Review Commission.
Yep.
Okay, so, all right, yeah, as long as they voted on it, we've done our job. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Anything else on the warrant schedule? Looking for a motion to approve the draft warrant schedule for 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Letizia.
Yes.
Very good. Last item on the agenda for this evening, the .gov domain registration application that Lynn referenced in her town manager's report as authorizing authority for Longmeadow, Massachusetts. The board has to vote to authorize signing and sending an application letter requesting that responsibility for the domain name longmeadowma.gov be delegated to the town of Longmeadow. Lynn, did you have anything else you wanted to say, speak to that on?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might still have, though.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I just was curious why this wouldn't have happened years prior. Idea on that, Lynn?
I can answer that, Lynn. Predates you.
Okay.
20 years ago, I was part of the group of volunteers that thought the town should have a website long before anybody had a website. And when we went to the town, this is before I was associated with the town in any formal way. We went to the town, and the then town manager said, "You want to do it, you do it. We have no use for it. We don't want it." And the only you couldn't get .gov if you were a group of volunteers. And so we went out and we bought longmeadow.org. We created it, we bought it, and then it turned and we started up a town website. I was one. 2 or 3 webmasters. I mean, we maintain school sports scores and you name it, we maintain it on a daily basis. And then at some point, maybe 4 or 5 years into it, the town said, "Well, we'd like to have this be the town website." We said, "Fine," and the year after that said, "No, by the way, we're going to take over. You're out." They threw out all the volunteers who started, took it over, but kept that domain name of longmeadow.org, along with all the web, email addresses. And so I guess it's been kind of a convenience since then to maintain it. When Stephen Crane was town manager, he had no initiative needed to change it. It's kind of go fix it kind of. And so we just kept moving along with longmeadow.org. And at this point, I think Lynn's seen it, whether is that your official town website or whatever kinds of questions you're getting, which I assume you're getting, it makes sense to have it be longmeadowma.org. I don't know if Lynn that fills in some of the holes, but Tom, basically it's because it was started outside the town didn't want it, and the town never wanted to take this initiative prior to this.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. I think that definitely sums it up on my end. A website is a critical communication tool, and it's also part of our identity. And a .org is affiliated with nonprofit organizations, and that is not what we are. So it's part of helping people find us, and it's part of attracting employees to us. So I feel like this clearly reflects what we are.
Lynn, I just want to reiterate my concern about, and I know it can be done. Josh, I think you said, I know it can be done. I think people need to understand there's a lot of, it's not just the website, it's emails and bases and all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to set up auto forwarding. So somebody, has your email address from 3 years ago and they send it to, L. Simmons at Longmeadow, it'll get auto forwarded to the new one. But the issue of having all the records and files and everything there in email, I think is a critical one that we need to make sure it gives us the continuity from one website or one email domain to another email domain. And it would be a shame to let somebody else take over this name for the $25 or $20 a year or whatever it costs.
Definitely. It's critical we maintain it and maintain access to those old emails.
Do you need authorization to do this?
I do. It actually has to come from you.
You know, I'd like to make the motion. I started longmeadow.org. Like I just said, I think this is a natural progression. I'm good with changing this. I'll move that we authorize the town manager to seek the domain longmeadowma.gov and the rights that come with us, and then start making the moves to safely migrate with retention of everything over to that website.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Leakey.
Yes.
Thank you. And last but not least, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Okay.
Mike, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Strange,
Yes.
Mr. Morantz,
Yes.
Mr. Levine,
Yes.
Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Mr. Leakey.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, January 18th, in recognition of President's Day, which is Monday the 17th. Hope you have a good couple weeks, and I will see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye.